apologize for the sound, but the sound is just gonna come out of the computer, so, but it'll just be a short read. Anyway, well, a good day. Thank you guys all for being here. I'll introduce myself. My name is Irona Howe, and I live in the community of Blue Creek. I am a member of the Cheyenne River tribe, and I work for the CRST, Cheyenne River Buffalo Company. I've worked for them for about 2 years now, I guess. And what my job is I am the farm to school representative for the CRST Buffalo Corporation. And basically what my job is right now is to implement buffalo meat on the school menus. So how many of you guys in here have eaten buffalo? Alright, here's the other thing. If you guys talk, if you guys ask any questions, you guys will get a sticker, okay? So I really want you guys to like interact with me, if you will. So, anyway, how many of you guys have participated in a buffalo harvest? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Alright. Anybody speaks, so you get a sticker. Remember that. Okay, so I'll go into right now, and I'll just read this off to you guys. Reintegrating buffalo meat into our diets just isn't about nutrition. It's a step towards reconnecting with our heritage and ensuring a sustainable food source for future generations. As we work towards restoring buffalo populations, we're not only reclaiming a critical food source, but also preserving a way of life that has sustained us for generations. Bringing buffalo back into our lives means honoring our past, nourishing our present, and securing our future. So with the PETA, the buffalo used to free range on Turtle Island in America. He basically went all the way up into Canada and all the way down into probably Texas, Mexico. There's been sights of him down in Florida. So there was like billions of them across the land. You can kind of wrap your mind around that. And he was our main food source. He did everything for the land, restored the land. He was a part of the ecosystem and played a really, really big role into that. When the colonizers came onto the land, they went across and they slaughtered most of the buffalo. So what I'm going to go into right now is I'm going to tell you guys a story, but this story is an ancient one. And so we're going to go all the way back into Ice Age. So we'll say we're going to go back like 1 billion years, okay? Where we weren't even on this land yet, okay? So I heard this story from Chase Iron Eyes. I was listening to a podcast, and it really moved me, and it's a story. And all of these stories too, every individual indigenous tribe has a story about the PETA, about the buffalo, about them being part of the people, part of the land, and how he helped us and everything. So anyway, all right, we're gonna go back, way back into the Ice Age time. So the buffalo were a lot bigger back then. They were pretty huge. I'll start getting more pictures of that. But anyway, this the story comes from Chase Iron Eyes, and it was told to him by a guy named Pete Ketches. And Pete Ketches is a holy man, and he is from Ogallala. So there was this woman buffalo, and she was out there doing her buffalo things, and she heard this voice, and this voice said, "Wawi wachielo, wawi wachielo." And you guys take Lakota language? You know what wawi wachielo means? No. Wawi wachielo means I want to live. I want to live. So she kept on hearing this voice over and over and over again. The first day, she was like, okay, doing her buffalo things, eating grass. She went back to the buffalo herd, and she told all her buffalo friends, she's like, man, do you guys hear that? Do you hear that voice? Wawi wachielo. And they're like, no man, we don't hear anything. So then they kept on grazing on the grass and doing her buffalo thing. On the third day, that voice kept on getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and it was keeping her up. She couldn't sleep. And she kept on hearing the voice saying, Wawiwachielo, Wawiwachielo. So she went back to the buffalo herd again, and she's like, and she asked her friends, she's like, man, do you guys hear this voice? And oh man, and they were like, man, she's crazy, you know, she's hearing things. So come the fourth day, and 4 is sacred to our people. We fast for 4 days, lecha. There's a lot of things that go with the number 4. All right, we're gonna go back to the story. So the 4th day, she come across, they call it blood clot, this mass in the land. So I kind of imagine it as a big round mass, kind of like possibly like a placenta, and I imagine it like blue and red in color, and that's where that voice was coming from, and it kept on getting louder and louder and louder. Wawiwachielo, Wawiwachielo. So that woman buffalo, she listened. She went over to that mass and she put her head down and she breathed into that mass, that blood clot. And from that blood clot, out came man. So the peta, the buffalo, breathed consciousness into us, and that's where we first come from. As that story says, there's a lot of stories out there, and there's a lot of stories from different indigenous tribes that will talk about the buffalo. So we would not be here if it hadn't been for the buffalo from that story. So have you guys ever heard of the Great Race? That's a story. Okay. So there's other stories that say that the buffalo used to hunt us. And the buffalo used to hunt everything. They were pretty dominant across the land. So this Great Race story is from the Cheyenne. And so if you guys are into like making movies or thinking about something like that, I'd really like to see in the future either a high school student or a college student and do something similar to this about the Lakota Great Race. We'll watch this story and just enjoy. I'll turn the volume up. And I apologize again because the only volume is on this one right here.
Was a time when the world was at peace. Until buffalo wished to become chief of all animals. To become stronger, buffalo consumed the flesh of the other creatures.
tell me with the Lakota story, you guys have heard of the Great Race in the Lakotas? And who won the Great Race for us? Yes. Who answered that? Thank you. Yes. Right. The first one that's gotten that. With that, the magpie rode on his back, and then he went across the finish line. And then they had a council and they had a conversation there. We have to remember, like back then, we had such an open communication with the animals, with the land, with the plants. Everybody was in communication with one another. We all kind of spoke a universal language with one another, and we lived in unity. So they had that conversation that the humans would be on top of the food chain, and they would dominate. The other thing that I always think about too is that we're the new ones here on this earth. Okay, so the buffalo gave us consciousness, and the birds were already here, the land was already here, and the creepy crawlies were already here, all the four-leggeds were already here, and we're the newest ones here on this earth, and we are on the top of the food chain, and that's a big honor. So what I have learned in these buffalo harvests, I've been really had the opportunity and have been blessed to surround myself with people that are really knowledgeable, and they give a lot of the stories and the information out. So there's one part on the buffalo that we do not eat, because everything we can use, but the thylamus gland. The thylamus gland is like located right about here, and it's kind of underneath the trachea part, and it's a real fleshy human like substance after when you get to harvesting. But you take that thylamus gland and you take it out to honor and remember, as Lakotas and as humans, prayer comes first, and you honor what has happened, and so you give that back to the birds as a thank you. Thank you. I thank you to the PETA, to the buffalo for sacrificing and allowing us to be here. And I thank you to the birds for winning that race for us. So basically back in the day, the buffalo was a walking Walmart. And these are all the things that we could use in there. I've got the buffalo box right here. I'll talk a little bit more, but I really, and you guys raise your hand at any point in time. Anybody ask a question, you have any questions, you get a sticker. And so, all right, we'll go to the next slide. So this is Thomas Peters, and he works for ITBC, and he's blowing up the lungs. And this kind of, I know it's just a video, but it kind of gives you a picture of like, or a visual of how big that they get. So it's pretty cool how expansive they get. Our lungs kind of do the same thing too. So when we go in and we harvest, we try to shoot them in the right spot where it doesn't puncture the lungs. So we can do this. And I'd like to foresee in the future is to be able to get all these organs, because the organs are full of so many nutrients and so many things that are good for the body, that help the body heal. More nutrients than let alone the meat, and just freeze dry them and grind them up, make them into powder, and that way we can use them as a seasoning. You know, put salt, red pepper and stuff in there. So then that way we're getting that nourishment, and we're remembering who we are, because the buffalo helps us do that. So, and then this other one. This is just a single lung, and this is Arlo Ironclad. Oh shoot, he's not happening. So pause this one, or you can see. That's just a single lung that's blowing up for the kids to see. Any questions? You guys feeling your lunch? Kind of sleepy? This was Eagle Butte Harvest. This was this last fall. This is a senior, Tommy Moran. She's Eagle Butte. And we're just cleaning out all the guts there. So this is Taniga. Make soup out of it. When you do these harvests too, you kind of, the squeamishness kind of goes out the door, you know. The pictures of the buffalo harvest, and I'll name off the people that are sitting in here. So they're pulling out the trachea. There's the heart right there. This is Brody Hall. He's our herd manager. Our team is small, so there's Jasper and Patrick help Brody out, and then we've got Isaac and Lucas, and they take care of the tribe. One thing that's really pretty cool is about the CRSC Buffalo Corporation is we have the largest tribally owned buffalo herd across the United States. So that's something to be really proud of, that we have the land and the capacity to hold that many buffalo. Because they're on a side, they're really making plans to have the buffalo free range again across the land to help restore the land where it's at. So hopefully our grandbabies, or my great grandbabies, and your great grandbabies will see the buffalo again be free range, like the antelope and the deer. This is Chalmers Kambele. He works for Game Fish and Parks. Have you guys ever met him before? Yeah, he's really knowledgeable about the land, really knowledgeable about our plants, really knowledgeable about all the four-leggeds. If you ever have the opportunity and want to learn, he's a really good resource, and he's here right on Cheyenne River. Does a great job. This is Michelle West, right here. She works for behavioral health. She's amazing. I've learned a lot from her. Back in the day, it was the woman's responsibility to do the buffalo harvest. Like the men, their responsibility was to go ahead and do the kills. And we're relearning our position as we were, but we're the ones that tanned the hides, that made the clothes, that did the cooking and did all of these things too. So, and I think that's Shawnee Lawrence there. I'm pretty sure. So. This was a buffalo harvest up in Standing Rock at Brown Otters. One thing that's pretty cool about the PETA, about the buffalo, is that they are willing to sacrifice themselves. So at this particular harvest, like brown otter, prayer comes first for us, always, as Lakotas. Prayer always comes first. So he went and he set that intention out with his buffalo herd, like, we're gonna do this harvest. And he prayed to them, and I had the opportunity to follow the hunters out when they went out, and there was already a big bull that already broke himself away from the herd. So the hunters went out and they went straight towards the herd, and then off to the right-hand side, you could see that big old bull, and he was running full blast towards the hunters. And you got chills, because he was like, it's me, I'm sacrificing myself. And then that way, the hunter was able to do the kill in one shot, where it was painless. So that was pretty cool. And this guy, he was really big. I mean, he was a big boy. I think he weighed like 1,800. But this last harvest that we did anybody go to the Welcoming Back the Thunders ceremony that we just got done doing? Yeah, that, and the same thing happened with that. We really had that intent. We started with that prayer of like, we're going to feed the people, we need to sacrifice, and we're asking for the PETA to sacrifice themselves. And that hunt too, Isaac Brown shot him one shot. He took him down in one shot, but he was huge. I bet you he weighed over 2,000. And they're still eating the meat at Culture Center. So if they're cooking buffalo at the Culture Center, you got an opportunity. Holy crap, he was so good, because I remember cutting him up, and he was full of a lot of fat, and so good. Happy guy. So, but when Isaac took him down to us, just a group of men, they went out there. But it's really cool because the buffalo have their families, and they're really connected with one another. They're really amazing if you have the opportunity to be around them. Once he was shot down, the whole entire herd just made a circle and they started running around him. And if you think of us, when we go into our, when we lose a loved one and we come together in those funerals and we sing that spirit back home, and it's the same thing. They're really, they are us. So it's super humbling. But this is Lisa Ironcloud. She's been a really good sister, Buffalo sister. There's a lot of, and I really like going to other reservations and helping out, because I always learn so much. And there's always stories that you can grab, and you just learn so much about the buffalo, and it brings you back to who you are as a Lakota or as an indigenous. We had a harvest here in Dupree this last fall. It was so cold, 20 degrees. Whew. But this is kind of to show you, buffalo only have teeth on the bottom. So, and then they eat the grass like that. And they're such a huge part of our ecosystem too, because they have such a good relationship with the birds, and the birds come and bring seeds to them, and then they waller in the dirt, and they plant those seeds for us. They nourish the land. They don't overgraze land. If they're put on it like cattle, they'll overgraze. But if buffalo are given enough room to roam, they help the land with their saliva. There's been a lot of studies on that. So and this kind of goes back to what there's. How are we doing on time? When do we? How many more?
12:20 is the next one.
12:20
Is the next one.
is the next one. So we're doing really good on time. Okay, all right. The other times I was running behind.
Yeah.
So this just kind of gives you again, they gave us everything we needed. This kind of goes into, I'll kind of tell you guys about this. Current schools, there's actually more schools than this, but I need to revamp this, but these are all the schools. Timberlake, Dupree, Cheyenne Eagle Butte, has buffalo on their menus. You guys might sneak in.
Question.
Yes.
Spelled their school name wrong.
Did I?
Yeah.
I did, didn't I?
Tuesday.
Thank you I will correct that. I've been known to do that. So now that you pointed out, I totally see it now. You want another sticker? But we've been in relationship with all of these schools to get, and the reason, one of the things that's really cool too about the corporation, my boss Jamie Murray, he's got a really good relationship with Nature's Conservancy. I said that right. And we're able to offer it to the schools at $3 a pound. And so, but the animals get donated in, and then this is at cost. So offering it, because there's a big cost thing when you try to get buffalo into schools. So we're really blessed here in Cheyenne River to have the opportunity. These are just pictures, I guess. About 2 years ago, we had Mariah Gladstone. She's from the Blackfeet tribe, and she's amazing. Like, she has a whole entire criteria. She's a chef, indigenous chef, and she came in and she helped the cooks out. And we just did like a cooking course. Would you guys be interested in like having cooking classes or anything like that? You guys interested in things like that? Okay, yeah, more hands-on instead of like listening. I feel like, so we'll work on some stuff in the future. But all right, we got about 10 minutes left. The rest of it just kind of goes into the meat nutrition, but I'll have you guys move over here, because then you guys are just listening to me talk here. So please come, touch anything. You guys have any questions? You get a sticker. All right. One of the things I've been doing with the buffalo is I've been making buffalo tallow, taking the kidney fat and rendering it down and making lotion. You guys are welcome to try this too on your hands. I'll take it out, but please get up out of your seat. Move around a little bit, stretch out, all that away, all that away.
Any stickers?
Yep. Top five.
Yeah. Heck yes.
Right here.
You're welcome.
I got New Jersey.
No,
Can I have a sticker?
can't take that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stickers? This was, yes.
Please.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of these.
I want to
These are
get.
big ones.
I want to get some of, with this one. Or this back on.